Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, we did.
Hi. I'm pretty excited, very excited to be here today. We've seen some exciting teams. So how many of you are actually startuppers? Okay, and others I assume would like to start something, right? That's good, that's pretty exciting. Because the entrepreneurship is about taking this first step and getting to the point where you want to change the world. So I will start by introducing myself a bit, so you are familiar. My name is Andrey. Even relatives confuse me actually, but the second name. But I have during the last 15 years I was building companies in Europe and Russia, and teams, my own and for somebody else. Last 6 years I was in digital space, helping clients to also build something there. Been through my own startups. 2 didn't succeed, so that's why I want to also share later some of the mistakes we made. The one startup I'm working right now is sort of a Tehnopol. I was part of a team who was responsible for building the largest social networks in Central, Eastern Europe and Russia. I don't know if the names Одноклассники or Nasha Klasa are familiar to you. So we had 4 social networks, and that was responsible for global development of Одноклассники. 70 million users globally at that time. We doubled our revenues at that years. We've been there. I'm an entrepreneur by nature. I love to create stuff. I love to change the world. And during all this period, I managed somehow to give the birth to 3 wonderful kids. And yeah, so I was busy, but it happened. But it mentioned that there are stories behind people, but I don't want to talk about me. I want to talk about some lessons and principles I've learned. Because I've been where you are, and those who want to start the business, I've been there. And those who are startuppers, I'm still there. Even though I run some advisory services, I still also, I'm running my own startup, or starting my startup. So it probably will never end the learning process. So it's good to share experiences, but I also want to share some stuff I've been through, which I hope you will take with you, and will avoid some mistakes. Where do you start? So one of the principles that I've learned, and somebody taught me actually during the course of my career, that you start with your passion. And I've seen a lot of people today with the passion. I'm not talking about passionate about what they're doing now, in terms of joy and excitement. I'm a startup, which is by itself is exciting. But I'm talking about, do you like what you do? Because usually the successful business starts when you see that, hey, I like what I do. I like this stuff. I like painting. I like designing. I like working with people. And this is the biggest source of your future success, might be. Because once you have a passion for something, it will open up the best amount of creativity for you. And you also want to spend, the whole day working on something you like, right? So it will also create that your clients will feel it. Because if you don't like what you do, why even start that? With my partners, actually, it was a period when we were looking for business, because we want to create something, but we didn't know what the idea. We need to find the idea. So we looked at different options, and at that time the group sales, the Groupon kind of companies were booming. So we're thinking, okay, it is, we like to create businesses. This is sort of our passion. We want to help people, but we could not. We were looking for something just for the sake of something. Okay, if you know what I mean, because the business we wanted to be in, actually we got engaged in this and didn't succeed. And I think partially just because of that, it wasn't really what we would like to do. So with the recent startup, which is actually launched in beta version, but it's, I have 3 kids, my partner has 2 kids. So we've seen the problem, which is actually the second, if you don't find any business in your passions, you can start with a pain that's, that's bothering you every day, or most of the time. So having kids, I don't know how many of you have kids. Good. I have 3, so I've experienced 2 major issues. What to do with the clothes they grew up from, and where to buy new clothes. It's a headache. So we decided, okay, we want to make it, like for years, we're waiting for somebody to solve it. We just couldn't see it solved. So we decided we'd do it ourselves. So this is our startup. But why I'm telling you this, that how you find what you will like to do is either a passion or you want to solve the problem which is really important to you. And my passions are kids. A lot of stuff going on with kids, education, and helping moms with the kids, and helping parents. So it's sort of in a good way. Am I talking too fast? You're fine. So I'm looking for a button there. So purpose and vision. You probably have heard this stuff before. If you've been through the business school, you probably heard it. But you know how many people actually act on this? Create the mission statement for their lives and for the companies and for families? Any guesses? Very few. But even as startuppers, you have the passion. You have the purpose why you created the business. And again, that, like in my case, in this Groupon kind of business we got engaged to, we just didn't have, we just wanted to make some business, but it was not really what we want to do. Plus we didn't have a clear purpose why we actually do that, or want to do that. So then of course, if you don't have it, all other stuff sort of, you don't find motivation, because the purpose, when you have a purpose, you understand why you do it. Even if you are studying something or you're already engaged in the business, if you can answer why you do it, it will drive your decisions, major or minor decisions, toward that goal. This is the same with time management. If you know where you're heading, how do you decide what's important to spend time on today and during the week? How do you decide what's most important? If you have some guideline, where you're heading. The same with the company. So in one company we didn't have it, in another we had, and now we have it as well. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So you think about it, and you have it in your mind, but put it. Your team will enjoy it. Your team will be motivated because you don't build something as a product. You don't build. You want to change the world. Small scale, bigger scale, right? We don't want to just build a platform for exchanging clothes or for buying clothes. It's just, or you don't want to just create a mobile app, which is cool, which is cool, but it's not what you're doing actually. You're solving somebody's problem, and if you improve somebody's life for better, improving community, you're changing the world. And this is what you need to think about it. If you didn't write it down, because this is where your heart is, where your passion is. Right? And then you focus on that. Don't focus on money. Focus on purpose, why you're doing it, and to whom you want to help. You said a quote. Actually, he changed the world, I think, for many of us. So I think this is a good example. Talking about a little bit back on the purpose and vision, one of the, like I mentioned my own example, but also in Odnoklassniki, I can share that actually because it's public information, but once you stated your purpose, why you're doing stuff. So we wanted to create the I mean the whole for networks, we want to create a platform for and enhance people's life through communication. So we communication platform for enhancing their everyday life and you know, friendships and so on. But it's not enough to just have it. You need to act on this, right? Because this is your sort of the guideline. You know, sort of are we on track? Are we on track with decisions? Is it expresses our purpose and vision? So if you do that, act on this and follow through. Because in a classic case, and we did some mistakes, and so we start focusing on money. So we start charging for registration on social network. Do you know what it means? It's killing the essence of the social network. You should be there and you pay for this. So it happened. Other social network in a couple of months became #1. It's still at Classic is recovering. It's cancelled 2 years ago, but still they're recovering because people start to feel abused. And this is where your challenge will be. You need money, but this is not the main why you're doing it. If you're doing it for money, you might be successful, but it's not, you're not changing the world. You focus on the problem, you focus on changing the problems of the users, money will come. That's my lesson learned. I don't know, maybe other people have other opinions. This is mine, and this is fundamental. If you solve it, they will come, they will feel it. If you come at it with a passion, they know you care. If you start, you know, too early charging them, abusing them, they'll feel it as well. And then what they do, they leave you. So, and we had this bad experience. They still recovered, even if we grow in, you know, 50% a year, it still didn't really help. So, going back to this, another lesson is solve the real problem. The problem not always seem clear enough. We might think that we're solving the problem. And then for some reason we wonder, what is it? Did we really solve the problem? Because users don't really engage in that. It means that you don't really solve the problem. Focus on the problem, whatever it is in your business. So like we did like we do in this the same example. This is the lesson learned. We had a concept idea, but we developed it too much. It will be next lesson learned. We developed it too long, for different reasons. And then when we launched it, we already knew that this is not solving the problem actually, because we started just for, you know, knowing all this. See, I'm like you, you know, and even some here are smarter, much smarter than I am, even with these years of experience. I did the same mistakes even in this startup. So we started from, hey, we want to solve this problem, but we're starting to create the business or the, you know, platform. What we needed to do, we need to concentrate, okay, what is the easiest way for the client to solve these two problems? Get rid of their clothes and get a new clothes fast. If you start with this, not even programming. So what we needed to do, what we're doing now, remodeling the business model and all that stuff. So we put it on the paper. Okay, how we want it to look? How would it look if we would use it? See, we've done it. We start to use it. It says, man, it's like, it's a rubbish service. You know, we don't really want to use it ourselves. So it means our, you know, user will not use it ourselves. So we now put it on paper, design it so we make it simple, elegant way, so it's simple. And it really solves the problem. Until you do that, you might even wait, you know, you don't even program anything because you didn't solve the problem. And design of the product is not a graphical design actually, it's, as you know, it's more of a front and back end, how you solve the problem. So, avoid this mistake, don't jump into right away doing stuff before you know what you want to solve and how you want to solve. again, if you, with my examples, if you start focusing, at some point you might have a challenge and the temptation to focus on money. Once you start doing it, it will sacrifice other stuff. And investors might press you, peers press you, the situation in life might press you, but still, if you need to attract some money or find some money, don't lose the focus on the problem, because you are for solving that problem. And the money is the second issue. If you will help enough people to get what they want, they will help you to get what you want. This is a give first and then you will get. So, any questions so far? We'll have Q&A later? Okay. So, the right partners. I think everybody is at one point facing that, right? This is the major issue as well. The partners, yeah, I failed with 2 companies because of I didn't choose the partners right. Besides other reasons as well. So another company we started, we had it was in 2008, I think, was before the crisis hit actually. So I had a friend who had a unique technology for, I don't know if you're familiar with cubes, this cubes transformers, which are fold out, and you can see the pictures. It's a cube, but you can fold it differently, so you can see 12 sides of it actually. You've seen that, right? So he had a technology producing 1, not 1,000, because in China or everywhere they produce thousands of it. So we had a technology to produce 1 and make it a photo album, unique photo album for you. So you can go on a site, you download your picture, make it, and we deliver it to you in a nice package. So surprise you. The mission was to make a surprise. In the crisis coming, man, we need to lighten the days of people. We need to give them something they keep memories, you know, of the loved ones. Plus, they have like a surprise moment, because it's fun to you have 12 pictures on a cube. So okay, I jumped into it and say, let's do it. I helped him with all this kind of stuff, but we didn't check on expectations. What he expects, what I expect, what it will do, and so on. So, we needed to clarify the expectation, what the values are. Is he committed? Am I committed? For how long? Because I was doing some part and I was expecting him to do it, he expected me to do some things. So we've been in a mess. In 8 months, it's been hell. Because I was working also somewhere. I was sort of thinking I would be partially just an investor in health, but I ended up basically running 2 companies in 24 hours a day and raising kids. So it was a good experience, but so I just went away at some point. But it was sad because we had user, we had traction. There was crisis hit in 2009, but still it was, you know, people liked it because we had a passion. I think we had a passion and the purpose behind it, why to do it. So choose your partners wisely. And the second, the same problem. I don't know, maybe it's a problem with me at some point. I don't know. And the second business we've been in, it also, we didn't clarify. We clarified expectations, but we didn't clarify the passion was there. Commitment was there, but it was not to the extent we need to. Like, I could be, for example, I might be full-time available, other partner is full-time available, other partner we think is full-time available, but he's available 1 hour a week. And he's a very important part of the business. You need to clarify expectations beforehand, and don't be afraid of it. If you take it straight, okay, what you think about it? Do you believe in the idea? Yes or no? Because if no, I mean, you don't want to stuck with this person for 24 months while you're developing that, right? Because it's like almost like choosing your wife and husband. I mean, it's hard. You will be working with them close by, and you will have, it's good to have conflicts, but it's, I mean, if the directions are different, right? So we didn't have a commitment, so, and he was a really important part of that as well. So we sort of, we don't go through. And of course the values, if you have friends or partners and you share the same values, which is good, because once money coming in, and money will come at some point, if you have different values, you will have a conflict. And you just cannot just say, hey, I'm leaving, you leave, because you're building this together. So it's, better try to minimize the risk before by just talking straightforward, asking questions, what you believe in. And even if for me, for example, if I would be with my friend and then I think he's the right candidate for the co-founder, whatever, but then I know on the weekends he just get drunk, and it just, in a bad way, just behaves. It's like, I'm asking a question, if he's, really capable of, keeping his commitments in this part also of his life, not only here, right? So, for me it will be a signal, alarm, right? So, and the team as well. The team, you cannot build it yourself, as you know it. I'm not telling you new things, right? Right? No? Okay. The team, who believes one person can build a business? Good. 2 people. Yeah, sometimes you can. 3 probably is the minimum start, I would say. In my cases, it was. You have at least, but in the tech world, you have a programmer, a good programmer, full-time. With this Kidzo, a startup which we do with this kids' clothes exchange in Russia, we had a freelancer who experienced working with freelance, starting up the company and working with freelance. No? Well, it's a pain. That's why it took not 2 months, but 12 months. And you don't have a passion behind it because it's a... And I'm like, okay, what? Nothing. Because you need to choose the team as well. The good, competent people who has a passion for it. Or you sell them the vision and passion and they will buy, they will jump. But again, if you go in a couple slides before, when you have a passion for this, you have a purpose, people will buy into it. Because they want to change the world. Inside of us, we're created for creating stuff. So, once they buy it, you have a team. But make sure it's more full-time than it's a freelancer. I would say. More people, the better, of course, but it depends on how you approach it. Simplify and focus. I think with every startup I've encountered, I'm advising myself, and my partners helping me, we're helping each other. Focus. Take a focus. With this photo souvenir business, we started in Latvia. We right away. No, actually, we've been in Latvia and Russia. We started US and Lithuania in 2 months, right? So, can you imagine the outcome? Starting, the small team starting the several big markets with, no substantial investment. So our focus was just, just miserable. We lost the ground in Latvia, lost the ground in Russia, where we started also get traction, because it was just too messy. If you we wanted to reach, big regions. It's good. You need to have a big ambitions, but start smaller. Start with, you know where you're going, but start here today. And depending on, how fast you move, and then you scale. Not right away, but step by step. So this one, focus, usually a problem. Also, we're talking with startups, it's focus is usually the problem, because you want to do a lot of stuff but you can't because of resources, and it's not necessary sometimes, or usually it's not necessary, actually, I would say. The features you think people might enjoy, they don't really care. They want to solve problem. They want to solve problem in the elegant, the easiest way. Right? And test yourself when you try to launch your product, test it yourself and say, is it easy for me? Is it what I would like to use myself? Is it easy? Is it necessary now? If we have these 100 features. So in this this startup, we're doing it again. We've done sort of minimized it, we think, but we didn't minimize to simplify it. We simplified it enough, but it's needed to, by 80%, need to be simplified more. And this is the constant struggle, because you've heard probably the sentence, less is more. Because once you focus on something and do it really good, it will bring more outcome and results than if you focus on many things, you know, and do it a lot of features and so on. People don't really care about it. They want the problem solved, not the features. They don't like the product. They want the, you know, the dream achieved. They want the problem solved. Right? So simplify. Simplify as a user experience. Simplify as a business model. Simplify what you want to do. Don't focus on too many things right away. So in Odnoklassniki, for example, a lot of stuff. So we've been growing like in 2008, and yeah, it's like I don't know how much you know about them, but they are Odnoklassniki social network is the only, probably one of the rarest brands. They are national, almost like a national hero. The songs are written about it. The movie now is filming, well, they're a little bit late, but the movie was taken. So it's like people are somehow, they attach to this. It's not like others. Facebook is like Facebook, you know, right? Odnoklassniki is like, man, it's, you know, and I don't know, it's part of the national heritage now. Now really, once you're in the market, and when you're part of the team, when you know, in the metropolitan, in metro you go in and on a buses or somewhere on the streets, and people say, hey, I've checked there, and I check, hey, have you seen my picture on Odnoklassniki, you know? So you feel that you're solving, you know, you are impacting some people's lives. But for users, it was more like a national, I don't know, it's like, you cannot explain that. No other social networks have that impact on the lives of people for some reason. But what we did back then, we redesigned the site. We decided to redesign the site. So the user experience, it was almost radically changed. So people got used to one interface. We wanted to make it, you know, fancy and good, and tasty. We ended up make it more complex. And the result, people like, you know, it used to be here. Now it's like, what are you doing? You know, so basically you're adding more stuff for me to observe. I don't want it. Of course, I mean they are there. They somehow figure out, but I mean the negative aspect. I mean they don't like it. They didn't like it very much. So you upset the clients, right? And if you focus on that, I mean, be careful, because simplifying will help, because they don't need a lot of features. Even on Facebook, we don't need a lot of features, but it's crowded, you know, screen the crowded, right? You don't need that. So make it elegant and easy to use. So that's what we're trying to do with our, and what I'm trying to, I think, tell everybody, focus. And this is not for you guys more, it's more for my benefit, because I'm then repeating it myself. I need to focus as well. So, simple is beautiful. And the last, but not the least, principle, it takes time. To build something, it takes time. Because if you are, again, if you're building something just to get returns fast now, you might think, well, I want to, you know, in a half a year already want to be profitable. It might be the case. Depends on, you know, on your solution, how you solve the problem, the timing, resources and so on. But if you focus on solving the real problem, it probably will take time, because you want to do it excellent. And excellence takes time. If you want to just, mediocre product, it might take a little bit less time, but then it will take more time to solve other issues and so on, and failures. But it's just get patience. I mean, a lot of you are here in the incubator for several months, or maybe up to the year, which is, it's good. Sometimes it takes so much time. If you're working on the problem, if you're solving the real problem, in the end, it will benefit you, because you will solve somebody's, you will make somebody's life better, right? And it takes time. So, that's the lessons I've learned, I think. Yeah, so you can change the world. And if you have
Yes, thank you, Andrey. If somebody has some questions, you can ask right now.
I have one. Thank you, great presentation. The question is that in Estonia, the startups usually look at the market that way, that Estonia, Nordics, and then US. And you have done a lot of stuff with Russia. That is obviously a big market just near here. So what would you say about are the main points if somebody is focusing on Russia, coming from Estonia or Latvia, for that matter?
You need to speak the language, definitely. And you need to, it's a big opportunity market. People are very, they accepting. They are, the new things, especially Western stuff. They like Western stuff. But the infrastructure and the business culture and the whole country is the low trust level. The government doesn't really, support the high trust. If you know what I mean, it's like, it's a very big opportunities, but it's a very complex market in terms of how you interact as a business. Infrastructure is, logistics just bad. If you want, e-commerce market, $13 billion last year. $13 billion. It's growing like 20% a year. Logistics not fixed. The post work, and of course, but there are a lot of opportunities, new ones. People creating logistics solutions, right? So you need to understand that the business culture is low trust, characterized by low trust. So you need to choose partners carefully. You need to spend some time in Moscow and St. Petersburg. This is the main focus, to understand how people just live. It's maybe a couple weeks at least, a couple months maybe, but still trying to understand that. Opportunities are, if you just even try to copy-paste business concept, it will work. You don't even create something, you just adjust for the market, but it's hard, the adjustment part is hard. And if you don't speak the language, you need to find somebody who speaks the language in any interactions. But yeah, so it's different kind of market. But once you're there, it's big, small, it doesn't matter anymore. So I don't know if you answered your question.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
But yeah, a lot of startups focusing on saturated markets. If you have the guts and the partners and resources, I would go other way around where nobody's going, basically.
Maybe one more question? No? All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Without further ado, Paul, can you come here? Very good. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Hello. Are you well?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're well, Paul. We'll see if you entertain us first. My name's Paul Smith. I don't have an impressive CV, I'm sorry. I'm fortunate that I haven't grown up yet at the age of 37, and I haven't been found out yet. This is me. If anything that comes up in the next 40 minutes or so is of interest, then find me on Twitter. It's the easiest and quickest way. If you like to follow a man who tweets about tech and travel and swears a lot and is sometimes very drunk and sad, that's the top one. Twitch Hiker's nice and shiny and all about travel and very smiley. Ignite 100 is the accelerator program I run in the UK. I'll talk about that a little more soon. And Appy Snap is my own startup, which has already failed. So, I'm spectacular at screwing up. If I could get paid for that, that would be my startup, but it's not. So, this is something new. I wrote this presentation on the plane last night at about 10 o'clock. I put the slides together this morning. So I haven't presented this before, it's all entirely new. If you look at your phones and it says Friday, please stop me. I have no idea how long this will take. There are 57 slides, so you know, we'll crack on. So we'll start with, this is basically going to be some lessons and some rules that I've learned from various avenues in life, from business, from working with startups, from family too. So I hope this hangs together in some sort of coherent mess. So let's start with writing. I spent 5 years as a writer. I still do occasionally. I worked for The Guardian for a time after I left the radio industry. And I also decided I wanted to be a travel writer because that's, I had no qualifications to be a travel writer. Quite frankly, it was very rude of me. But I decided I wanted to be a travel writer. And I was writing for a small magazine, an airline magazine actually, about Spain, about Barcelona, for one of the in-flight magazines. And Barcelona is a fantastic place, and I like going there a lot. And I've been talking to the locals, and they said, you're writing a guide to Barcelona, we have to take you to this bar. This bar is in the Born, which is a neighbourhood in Barcelona. And it sells champagne for €1 a glass. So I go there a lot. It's a very old bar, and the reason for including it in the guide, and not many people knew this, was that it's the last bar that Christopher Columbus drank in before he set off to discover the New World. So I wrote about it for my guide. I was very happy with this find, and it was delightful that I could include it, because I'd never read that in a guide before. And I took some people in one day and said, I wrote about this place in a guide. And this is the place where Christopher Columbus last drank in before he set off from Spain to discover the New World. Isn't that right, Mr. Barkeeper? No. No, this is the Christopher Columbus. No, sorry, said the person who owned the bar. That's a lie. Christopher Columbus has never been. He didn't even set off from Barcelona. He set off from somewhere else. I don't know who told you that, but that's a lie. So if you ever read a copy of the EasyJet in-flight magazine from 2008 and it says that, it's a lie. So that was a fail. And the lesson learned from that is that people tell lies. You'll find this a lot in life, don't worry about it, it's just what most of us do from time to time. They differ in size, some are big, some are very tiny. Radio, I worked in radio for 13 years. I started out as a producer at my local radio station in a town called Darlington in the north of England. But I went on, over the years. I ended up working for the BBC for 4 years. I was the executive producer of BBC 7, which it's now called Radio 4 Extra, but it's one of the BBC's national radio stations. And I worked in radio because it didn't seem like a job, it was a passion. And it was the most fun I'd ever had at the time. My last job was working for a regional radio station where I lived in the northeast of England, and I'd been brought in because I had big ideas and because I was creative, and I had a great CV because I'd worked at the BBC, and I recruited my best friend as my deputy, and we were going to change the world of radio. That's what we were going to do, take it back to a golden age, not one where it's just song after song. We were going to put humour and personality in, we were going to do things differently. I left 6 months later, and I left because while the boss had told me he wanted me for my big ideas, what he really wanted me for was doing admin while he had the big ideas, which wasn't quite what I wanted to do. So my big dream of a golden age of radio died very quickly, so that was a fail too. What did I learn from that? I learned that people tell lies, which I'd already learned some time before. But I learned something else, and that is you should do what makes you happy. And at the point that radio started seeming like a job, that was the time to leave. And if you can't be passionate about something, as Andrey said, if you can't live and get up every morning and want to do what you do, you should think about changing it, because it's very difficult to get through life otherwise. Back to the writing. When I left radio, I decided to become a freelance writer. This is before I became the travel writer. I earned £400. Not in the first month, that's actually the figure for the first 3 months, because I just left radio and I wasn't actually a writer. So I had to make it as I went along. And I starved, and I got a credit card, which had a £6,000 limit on it. I'm still paying it off, some 5 years later, but it meant I could live. So that was a fail. But I was happy, but what I learned was that happy doesn't actually pay very well. You can't take that to a bank manager, that's actually, they don't like that. So, that's fair enough, but what happened the next month is that because I'd actually taken this small job that didn't pay very much, and I'd done it very well, is that one of my employees came back to me with a contract for copywriting, which gave me £2,000 for month 4. Brilliant. So, happiness doesn't pay well, but sometimes it does, which actually makes no sense, and my rules look absolute stupid now. It's okay, so the rules are idiots. But the thing about the rules is you can make your own. So, that's the thing to learn from that, is that you can go away in life and just get on and do what makes you happy, and just enjoy yourself. If you can do that and find that in your work, you'll live a better life for it. Twitch hiker. Twitch hiker isn't something I talk about anymore, but it always comes up and I'm always asked to talk about it, so I do. If we go back to the 31st of January 2009, I was in a supermarket in Gateshead, and I was very frustrated and possibly hungover, as most English people are at any time of day, really. And I had this idea to try and travel around the world using Twitter, relying on the goodwill of strangers who I didn't know. And I decided to call it Twitch Hiker, and I went away and came up with some rules for it. I'd attempt to travel to the opposite side of the world, which is here. This is an island called Campbell Island. It's 400 miles off the south coast of the South Island of New Zealand in the Antarctic Ocean. But it was at the exact, well, pretty much the exact opposite side of the world to where I was stood. Why did I do this? There was nothing really much in mind apart from the fact that Twitter was starting to get quite interesting 3.5 years ago. And I thought that if I didn't do this, then somebody else would. And in 3 months' time, I'd be sat in a pub, reading a newspaper, and reading about somebody else who had done the idea far better than me, and I didn't want to be that person. I had an idea and I wanted to try it. And I had a wife, I had children, I had a mortgage, and I had a £6,000 credit card debt that I hadn't paid. But I did it anyway, because you should do things like this. You should take the opportunity when it arises. So off we went. That's me on Good Morning America, being watched by several million people. And that's me with Liv Tyler, because she was at a bar that I was in when I got a lift to LA. I ended up getting lifts and being pushed all around Europe, and then an IT manager in England gave me his air miles and got me to New York, and then I ended up sleeping on couches and getting the Greyhound bus all across America for 2 weeks, and ended up on the West Coast, and that's Liv, who I think secretly liked me. And there's me. I arrived 29 days later. Except that's not Campbell Island, that's Stewart Island, which is a small island 50 miles off the coast of New Zealand, not 400 miles off the coast of New Zealand. It looks like it. If I'd have told everyone that was Campbell Island, they wouldn't have known. No one's been there in like years. So, the only reason it failed is because Stewart Island has 300 people on it. Actually, all of New Zealand has 4 million people. There's not many people there. And you discover that Twitter is actually powered by people, not technology. So the further south you go, you start running out of people, which means that Twitter actually becomes less and less relevant or important. So I got to an island with 300 people on, where my phone didn't work because it doesn't accept international calls on this island. To make it to Campbell Island at the end of March, which was winter down in the southern hemisphere, I'd have had to have found the captain of a fishing boat who was prepared to go to sea with all his crew for free for 6 days on a round trip, who was on Twitter. No, that wasn't going to happen. So that's a bit of a fail. So I get home and I have to endure 7 days pretty much of newspapers discovering this and telling everyone how I failed, which wasn't much fun either. So that wasn't very good. But when this happened, Twitter was actually still quite small. So Hitchhiker had become the top trending topic on Twitter globally at the time. And what came out of that is that people kept talking about it for months afterwards, which meant it eventually led to this. And a year later, I wrote a book and published a book which became a bestseller in the UK, which was very nice. Woohoo! Woohoo indeed! Thank you very much. It's now in the bargain basement section. It costs about £1. It's not that good, really. Don't worry about it. But what did we learn? We learn it's the journey, not the destination. It doesn't matter where you're aiming for, actually. It's how you get there that matters. And if we apply this to business, let's look at business plans, shall we? Business plans are works of fiction. Business plans are fantasy. Business plans are magical winged unicorns and endless supplies of kittens. They're for people who actually are scared of the future. For startups, actually what they are, it's the dream. The fact that you might pull numbers out of your backside to write a business plan is neither here nor there. What it represents is the place you want to get to. But if you try to stick to a business plan when you launch your business, actually you'd be screwed. Because you stop hitting one metric, everything else in the business plan falls apart. It doesn't matter. Actually, it doesn't matter what's over there. If the investor's like this, that's great. You made it up on the toilet the night before, that's brilliant. That's okay. Actually, what matters is that you try and you take a vision somewhere and you do something. Happy Snap. So apart from being a travel writer and writing for The Guardian and working in radio and startups and then trying to get around the world and failing, I also started a mobile company because I met an engineer, a developer, and we decided we were going to, we've made lots of apps, all of them failures, including the one with David Hasselhoff, because while we all loved Knight Rider as children, what we didn't realise that elsewhere in the world, he was just a roaring drunk that nobody liked very much. So our app, Ask the Hoff, failed pretty bad too. But Happy Snap was a way of gamifying photos. And this came out, we started planning this about 3 months, 4 months before Instagram came out. And the way it worked is that at any time of night or day, Happy Snap would send you a mission. And the mission was to take a photo of an object, or a person, or a situation. And you would be awarded with points off physical prizes as a result. The way we were going to monetize it was that if we got enough people playing it, then we could actually drive physical footfall into stores. So we could actually promote stores through photos, which were then shared socially anyway. And we tested this. We tested this by telling people to go and take photos of Starbucks, of the red cup at Christmas that comes out at Starbucks. And we'd get 300 photos of all red cups, which were then shared on Twitter. Brilliant. We had it nailed. We were going to buy a castle. We got lots of press. This is The Guardian. Hooray! Lots of press in The Guardian, lots of press in the Next Web. How could we go wrong? All this press, straight away, within a week, we had 5,000 users. We were going to buy a castle. Except, what we'd done was we'd released a minimum viable product, which is a great thing for a startup to do. You build something that you think is going to work, and you release it. The problem the problem we'd made for ourselves is we shouted about it. We thought we had it right, but we released a product that was stripped of most of the major functionality. It was the bare minimum, but then we shouted about it anyway, so everyone jumped on it, and then realised actually it didn't do anything, so they all went away again. Which is a problem, obviously, if you want to try and build lots of traction. The lesson there, if you've nothing to say nothing. Minimum viable products are great, but when you release them, you've got to release them quietly. Because what will happen is that you'll learn so much about it. Once it's in the wild, You'll learn everything about it from the people who use it. You can refine it, you can build new features, you can improve it. And when it's at the point that those users who have stuck by you from the start tell you that it's in a place that actually they're really getting a lot of value out of it, then shout about it, tell the world. Up until that point, don't do that. The other thing we realised, and this is something that I see every time we run Ignite and pretty much with every startup I meet, is that social media gets treated like a magic bullet. If I was to say to a startup, how are you going to take this to market? How are people going to find out about it? Their first answer pretty much all the time is social media. Now everyone does that. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, you could do that. You could put something on Twitter and it would be one link in maybe 10 tweets you read. It would be one link on Facebook out of 4 or 5 status updates. Now, it's lost. It's noise. There's very little signal now. If you look down your tweets, your timeline, how many of them don't recommend something or don't suggest activity? So what you need to do if you're a startup is, when you write down the list of how you're going to market a product, you put social media at the top and then you cross it out. And you come up with 5 other ways you are going to get people to know about your product. Because you'll do social media anyway. And once you've got that 5 and you're happy with them, and you've talked to someone who knows what they're talking about, then you can put social media back in. But it doesn't solve anything before that. Fortunately, we kept going with AppySnap, and we couldn't get it to grow quick enough, although it was still putting on users. And in the end, it had about 10,000 users after 6 months. So we took the decision to kill it. We killed the app while it was still successful and still popular. Well, successful, it hadn't made a dime of any money, but it had people using it every day. And we killed it because we realised what we needed to do. It needed deeper social integration, and we were bootstrapping, and there was 2 of us and only 1 of us could code, and that was going to take 4 months. So we killed it while it was popular. The reason that's a good thing is because we had 2 investors playing. And they'd come to it fairly late. And so we killed it, and they came to us and said, could we invest? Because we think gamifying photos is something that nobody's got right yet. Plenty of opportunities, but no one's actually managed to get it so it works. So we said yes. So we're currently building. That happened in July, and we're just about a month away from submitting AppySnap again. And it will look very different this time around, although there's a lot in there which remains the same. This is a writing term, kill your heroes. When you get involved in writing books or scripts, you tend to become fixated with particular characters. And the more you fixate about them, the less relevant the rest of the story becomes. Or you try bending the rest of the story to fit around this one character who you really, really like. And this one character gets a disproportionate amount of your time and energy, and everything else starts to suffer. And it's really hard, but you've got to be brave, and you've got to kill them. You've got to cut them back, or you've got to take them out completely. And in startups, it's very common for startups to fixate over very particular points or very particular aspects of their product. And it's very, very difficult to take them out. So you end up with some startups never launching because there's just too much they're trying to launch. There's a startup in the northeast of England that is 2.5 years old. It hasn't launched yet. I don't think it's ever going to, because they've pivoted twice. They've got so many feature sets, and they don't have the money. Don't be afraid to kill your heroes. Ignite 100, a startup accelerator. Do you all know Wise Guys? Startup Wise Guys, yeah? So very similar to that. We've got 10 teams. We're just in the 2nd week now. And they're a good bunch. That's last year's. All very excited. Those of you who know Tavi and Tavit from Crowd IPR, Estonians, very good chaps. They had a whale of a time. I think if they've told you differently, tell me, because they said they liked it. So I work around startups all day. I love that job. It doesn't feel like work most of the time when I'm not working with investors. I love that job. But you learn lots about startups as well. It's good for me because I've got one, but it's also good because I learn and I talk to a lot. The first question any startup should ask itself when it has an idea is, who cares? Andres said this, does it solve a problem? There are far too many startups that launch that don't have a problem to solve. They launch because they're cool. Angry Birds solves a problem. Doesn't seem like it. It's more of a passion than a pain. But it solves the problem for what am I going to do for the 3 minutes I'm sat on the toilet? It solves the problem, it's 3:30 in the morning. I can't get to sleep. What do I do now? And this is normally the problem with that. It's that startup founders often confuse their problem and they extrapolate that and they project it onto everyone else. I've got this problem. That means everyone has this problem. And it's rarely the case. You are not your user. If you're a developer, you are definitely not your user. Developers should always go and talk to somebody before they do anything, because developers will design something that fits in their head. Developers are incredibly clever people, but they often design things that actually no other man on earth can actually figure out. Never let the developers design. This is another good rule. Don't be a dick. That's Will Wheaton from Star Trek. Don't be a dick. You will run into this. There are lots of entrepreneurs about, lots of founders, but it's a very, very tight ecosystem. And if you start being an idiot and you start being selfish, if you take and you don't give, then you'll get found out. You won't get supported when you need it. There's a better way of putting that. If you've ever seen Bill and Ted, has anybody seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? You've no idea. The English person in the room. Nobody else has seen Keanu Reeves' best film. Disappointing. That's Abraham Lincoln. His best line, be excellent to each other. I don't think he said that in real life when he was alive, but he says it in the film. Family. This is interesting. That's me. The one on the not the tall one, obviously. The one on the left. The one on the left is me. That's me when I'm 5 at my great aunt's farm in Kirby Lonsdale in the Lake District. And that's Chris, my brother, who's 4 years younger to my left. That's my dad. He's about 34 there. And about 4 years ago we stopped talking, which is what you do with your dad, often. You stop talking for no good reason. It's just because he's the one that doesn't call you, or you're the one that doesn't call him. He never visits. Why don't you visit? And you just get to a point where life's too busy and you've too much on and you think you don't need them anymore. And so you lose touch and stop talking to them. So last year, on about February the 18th, he was taken into hospital. He'd taken a prescription that had caused anaphylactic shock, and his throat had closed. And he went into hospital, and he went into intensive care because he didn't regain consciousness. And he was like that for about 2 weeks. And I went to see him then. I was brave enough to see him when he didn't have his eyes open and couldn't shout at me. That was fine. And I thought that was the last time I was going to see him. But then, the week after, he recovered. He opened his eyes, he sat up in bed, he started walking around. He had a tracheotomy because his throat was closed, so he couldn't talk, he had to write on a notepad. But he asked to see me, he was told I'd visited and he wanted to see me. So that was great. That was a Wednesday morning. And I found out Wednesday afternoon. Fantastic. I was busy, as you are, and actually scared. I didn't want to talk to him. Well, I did want to talk to him, but, scared about talking. He's my dad. I'm a big boy, but he's my dad. So I decided to go the next day. And he didn't wake up the next morning. He recovered, but he didn't wake up. And over the course of the next 10 days, his blood pressure started to drop, and his organs started to fail. And the next time I saw him after that was when the hospital called 10 days later, and Chris and I had to go in and turn off his life support machine. And that wasn't much fun. When you're a travel writer, if you're ever a travel writer writing a guidebook, you work to a very strict itinerary, because you've got to. You have a lot to do. If you're going to get from one place to another, if you're going to see 20 things a day and write about them all, you have to move very quickly. And when you do that, something will always catch your eye that you didn't know about. If you're a junior travel writer and you don't have much experience with this, you don't stop. You just keep going. You'll get back to it later, because you've made a note of it, you'll get back to it and see what it was. You never do. You never take the opportunities. Fail. Not the happiest fail in there, admittedly. Gets less laughs. I'll make a note of that. So the lesson is seize the day. If you want to do something, opportunities come to us every day. Some of them we dismiss because they seem too hard or too painful, they're not right for us at that time, but often we just dismiss them without even considering them. Seize the day, think about them, or do them. You've very little to lose. So, in summary, seize the day, make your own rules, be excellent to each other, and the more you fail, the more likely you are to succeed, because you won't learn if you don't try. That's me. Thank you very much for the invitation. Appreciate it.
Does anybody have some questions?
No? Good. Thank you. Excellent.
Excellent. Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but I'm lucky to have a dinner with Andrey and Paul a little bit later, so I can ask them. But I don't know, how about you? But it was for me the first time that I really heard a personal story. Usually people are not so open to share their stories. It takes a lot of courage, for sure. So thank you for that. And also for me, it's really, really interesting to hear about failures, how others have failed. It makes me curious for my own failures. So really thank you, and thank you all for coming.